The fireball that Messmer tries to dunk you with is a very cool attack, and as soon as I found out you can unlock it as an incantation, I knew I had to make a build. So here it is. We're going to be pairing up the Fire Knight's Greatsword, a colossal greatsword with a stupidly good moveset, with the Messmer's Orb incantation to make a Flames of Destruction build. Is it a good build? Questionable. Is it a fun build? Hell yeah. If you're looking at it from an objective standpoint, the Fire Knight's Greatsword is going to carry this build quite hard because it is an amazingly powerful colossal greatsword with a true R1 combo that may or may not get nerfed in the near future. For this build, we're going to be pairing that up with Flame Skewer, an ability that can coat our weapon with fire on top of being able to infuse our weapons natively with more fire damage. Flame Skewer is an amazing Ash of War actually because it has a follow-up that's low cost and it does a lot of stagger damage, and it also has pretty good hyper armor when used with this weapon. For Talismans, you can either go with Shard of Alexander or Godfrey's Icon depending on what you want to lean into more. Messmer's Orb, the incantation we're going to be focusing on, is chargeable, but it actually has an uncharged version that's pretty good and probably what you'll be using more often in most scenarios because Messmer's Orb is interruptible, sadly. And if you're unsure of either, the two-hand Talisman is also a great replacement for the Shard of Alexander or Godfrey's Icon, giving your colossal greatsword even better R1 damage. Secondly, since our build focuses mainly on fire damage, the Fire Scorpion charm makes sense here. We are going to take a little bit more damage. Most of the time, you're probably going to stagger any enemy you hit anyways because the colossal greatsword is going to do a lot of damage and you're going to get that R1 true combo. But if you're worried about survivability and want to change this out for something else, go for it. An easy replacement can be the Crimson Amber Medallion +3, giving you a massive amount of health, or Erdtree's Favor or its upgraded version for the HP, stamina, and equip load increase. Next is the trusty, reliable Green Turtle Talisman or its upgraded counterpart. We're going to be using a colossal weapon, so every time we swing, we're going to be consuming so much stamina. Better regen gives us better management, which gives us more survivability. Pretty nice to have. And lastly, as always, the fourth slot is going to be our survival slot. Dragon Crush Great Shield Talisman is a great go-to if you're not sure what kind of environment you're in, but once you start to figure out the area and what its enemies prefer to do to you, you can use the magic, lightning, fire, or holy damage negation talismans for better effect. Moving on to equipment, you can wear whatever you want. I would highly recommend not going into heavy load if you can help it. If you don't care about fashion, then as always, more poise equals more chances to land Messmer's Orb due to the increased resistances to stagger. The Fire Knight's helmets that you'll find in the Shadow Keep alongside the Fire Knight Greatsword can be quite amazing because it gives you extra HP, FP, and stamina load. While an alternate, the Winged Serpent helmet, which you can also find in the Shadow Keep, gives you 10% more damage to your Fire Knight skills, which includes the Flame Skewer. For the rest of our equipment, you can wear whatever you want outside of the Fire Knight Greatsword and the Fire Knight Seal, which will increase Messmer's Flames incantation, and that includes our signature Messmer's Orb. The stat allocations are as follows and are based around level 150. If you are lower level than this, make sure you meet the minimum requirement to equip all the equipment that you would want. At level 150, we're going to have 40 Vigor, 20 Mind, 34 Endurance, 40 Strength, 18 Dex, and 60 Faith. If you rely more on the weapon attacks of the Fire Knight Greatsword, consider taking some endurance or some faith away and increasing your strength to 54. This will give you the soft cap for strength when you two-hand the Greatsword. On the opposite hand, I think more endurance is actually better, so decreasing mind by just a little bit to increase more endurance is never a bad idea. The Colossal Greatsword takes a lot of stamina just to swing, so keep that in mind. There are not too many Messmer's incantations. We're going to be equipping 2 of the 3 that comes with the DLC. Fire Serpent is a very low cost, effective spell that's honestly really freaking strong. It's fast casting and it goes pretty decent range and it does pretty good damage, especially with this build. Messmer's Orb on the other hand is very sick looking, does a lot of damage, and it definitely does a ton of stance damage. However, it has no hyper armor. It does take a while to cast if you're doing the charged version. Use at your own risk. It can be really good if you just quick tap it because it brings you up into the air. You can avoid some horizontal attacks with it. It's pretty nice. It's kind of unwieldy to control, so in an invasion scenario or PvP scenario, this is actually pretty hard to use as like a feint or a trick just because it's telegraphed, and also its mobility is limited based on where you're facing, so you can't do like a 180 turn while you're in midair charging this Messmer's Orb, which is a shame. The next 2 is going to be open slots for damage, fire damage in particular. I have Flame of the Fell God, another tracking orb that does a big explosion, giving you more opportunities to put pressure on an opponent. opponent. And then I have Black Flame Ritual. It creates an AoE ring of black flame around you. The black flames stay on field for quite a while, allowing you to get a lot of damage out for one cast of this spell, which is pretty nice. It's also nice for crowd control, even though this build doesn't really have that problem due to Messmer's Orb or even the Fire Knight Greatsword having a very good moveset for just culling a bunch of enemies that are next to each other. The nice thing about this spell too is that if an enemy has low poise, every tick of damage will stagger them. And then the last four is going to be our standard support package. We have Golden Vow, Bestial Vitality, Flames Grant Me Strength, and Heal. With Flames Grant Me Strength doing a lot of work in this build. This build is not the craziest, it's not broken, but it sure is thematic, and being able to dunk enemies with Messmer's Orb is always a good time. If you have any cool ways of augmenting Messmer's Orb even more, let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this content and thought it was helpful, leave a like, consider subscribing, support your boy. For more Elden Ring builds, check out this playlist on screen right now. My name's Varsona, and I'll see you next time.